1995 ski boat, Mr. Wisby's boat. Hope I said that right. Got a 351 Ford. This gentleman came all the way from Louisiana. Couldn't find somebody reputable that he was comfortable with, and he brought this boat all the way from Louisiana. So we owe it to him to do the best job that we can do based on what his requests are. And, you know, boats are expensive, boy. You could just keep spending and spending and spending. And when you get one you don't know a lot of history of, and somebody else has had their hands on it, you can find all kinds of ailments. So just to get this one going for the season, we've done a few things. One, we replaced the fuel pump. Now we are waiting for the Tygon hose that goes from here to the carburetor. That's a safety measure. The fuel pump was definitely blown, and the fuel was pumping up through that hose. We also replaced this distributor. It had an aftermarket distributor in it, which is perfectly fine, a whole lot better than any points ignition or even the factory electronics that came in these years. They were kind of garbage. So we replaced the entire distributor, and we replaced the coil. Now those are pretty inexpensive items on Amazon. They both came from really good deals. We also replaced the water pump impeller inside the water pump housing. We had to remove the engine and replace the flywheel ring gear because it was stripped from rusting from the boat having water in it. So we pulled this engine out, we removed this bell housing, took the flywheel off, and replaced the ring gear only on the flywheel. Along with that was damage to the starter. So we replaced the starter. We got a brand new starter down there. Of course, the blower motor had also come apart, and so did the bilge hose. Somebody had some dryer hose on there. There's a few other things we got to do here just before he picks it up, but they're very minor, some hose clamps on the exhaust, what have you. Now, this is our first time in the water, in the run tank, and so we were checking everything for leaks. We had some drain plugs leaking, from winterization plug was leaking. We had a couple of drips on the water pump. We took that apart, cleaned it up good, and put some sealer on it, and took care of that. We had a tremendous amount of problems with the shifter and that little dude over there, and we removed the driver's seat in order to be able to work on it. We've been doing that now for probably an hour and a half. We took the shifter out. It was jammed up inside. We took it apart. Nothing was wrong. It just got jammed due to a cable issue. The throttle cable and the transmission shift cable were binding up, and they had been improperly adjusted probably since the day they were put on. They're not original, so you know, somebody screwed the pooch on that one a while back, and it just cost an hour and a half of frustrating time to get it even close. Now the cables are due to be replaced again, primarily the shift cable, because it's got some slop in it, and that slop is causing a little late engagement into either forward or reverse. So we just kind of happy mediumed it so he could go run his boat and he could have forward and reverse. And we want to video that for the customer to show him how that's operating. Now, we did a bunch of other things. We had to rewire the temperature sending unit. We had to rewire the starting circuit. We had to rewire the ignition coil circuit. The neutral interrupt for the transmission, we had to rewire that. We had to repair some wires under the dash. We had to install a new ignition switch because it had a push button start. And we had to disable some other things that were going on up there. So it was just, you know, years of people just trying to get it going right, and, you know, just not fully understanding what really needed to happen. So Mr. Wisby, the owner of this boat, has said he was going to bring it back in the off season so we could do a lot more things to it and get some of these things up to snuff and tidied up, you know, up to par. Another thing we found is that this is brand new fuel line running all the way to the fuel tank, okay? But somebody had put air hose, you know, like shop air hose, compressor hose from that filter all the way under there and over there to the gas tank. So we had to replace that. That's a major safety issue. That and the blower and the blown fuel pump, the Tygon hose that was running up here, that was giving the tattletale that the pump was bad, which it was full of fuel, and it's made to dump it inside the engine, cause the engine run bad, so you don't dump it into the bottom of the boat and catch the boat on fire. Somebody had kinked the hose and put tape around it or a zip tie so that it wouldn't leak gasoline out of that, which, you know, I'm surprised that we still have a boat here to stand in. We have flooded it a few times here recently because of all the cable adjusting and operating the shifter. So it's a little bit hard to start right now. Probably the spark plugs are a little fouled, but we're not going to replace them. We just need to take it out and run it. We also did change the engine oil and the filter. Since the fuel pump was bad, it can contaminate your engine oil. The oil change hose right here, it's, you know, you pull this little cap off and you can vacuum your oil out of there. It was actually missing its clamp. So if that thing would have fell down and came off, the engine would have evacuated all of its oil. It would have been a blown up motor. I can see that somebody's replaced the alternator already, and that's a good alternator. And so here, Kid's Walker there, go ahead and start this thing up. We've got a few gauges. Well, the tachometer doesn't work. I think everything else is working. Go ahead. And that's how she starts now. Of course, it was starting a little better before we fouled out the spark plugs, but you don't really have to touch the gas. Now, if you open the gas up a little bit, it's gonna smooth out a lot quicker, but I like it to just, I like to know that it can save itself. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's go talk about the shifter. Now that the engine is running, we got a nice cool temperature, right? Looking good. Oil pressure looks really good. We're probably almost 50 pounds. It's about 45 pounds. The voltage meter is above 12. That's where we want it. The gas gauge does not work. We did verify that the wiring is good, but the sending unit is probably bad. Okay, on this shifter, we're gonna go to forward gear. And we're in forward gear right there, okay? So I wanted to do that slowly because I'm holding the phone in my hand. So that's forward gear. Now we're gonna come back to neutral. And we're in neutral. I don't know if y'all can hear the engine in the video. Now when we go to reverse, we'll go slow. And there it goes. So I had to barely get on the throttle for that to hit reverse. That's because I had to force that reverse cable just a 1/16 of an inch more. And I couldn't find a good medium in here to where they were both functioning perfectly. So I thought we'd sacrifice reverse just a little bit. Now if you want to go back into it, usually it'll catch right there, it kicks right in. So you don't have to be scared to shift it. I mean, you might goose it a little, knock somebody down on their butt, right? But forward gear, that's in forward gear without any gas. And then, right, so we're in forward gear right there. Neutral again. Now we got to get to reverse. And I'm sure you can hear it. Now that was me that did that. Go ahead and start it. Mr. Wisby had the carburetor rebuilt. We did not do the work on that. Seems to be functioning okay, but looks like maybe it's been some time ago. Anyway, all in all, for what we started with, I think we got a pretty good running boat. Do you agree, Kenneth? I mean, it's come a long ways. It's taken, I guess, about 3 weeks, maybe, Deanna? Has it been here about 3 weeks? Yeah. Deanna's enjoying the customer seat over there in the grass. She's been pushing us tools while we've been working on it. But anyway, we're gonna give this one a thumbs up and a clean bill of health for an initial sea trial. Wait for the feedback from the customer. Go ahead and shut it off. Wait for the feedback from the customer, a report of any other major problems that might show up, and address them a step at a time. Hopefully we see him back in the winter, and we can tidy up a lot of these other things that are going on. Anyway, that's Mr. Wisby ski boat. I'd like to tell you the name of the boat, but I don't know what it is because it's MB Sport, I guess is what it's called. Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry for the long video. We do these primarily for the customers, but some people enjoy watching them. So that's it from Hotheads Marine.